Hi there, my name is Sally. Thank you so much for coming to my YouTube channel, How I Got There from Cult Survivor to Writer. I have been sharing quite a bit each week. I give a little tidbit into the glimpse of the life of Jehovah's Witnesses, showing you the truth behind the truth. So they call themselves the truth, the one true religion, and they say they're not a cult. I do have some links below. If you would, it's pinned, one of the first comments, and it's also in the description of the video, to several sites that explain what a cult is. And I give this disclaimer every time because I want you to understand that, yes, they are a cult, and that I'm not going to be debating any theological points with you or the Bible with you. I am here simply to show you one thing at a time, a lie, and expose the lie for what it is. Now, everything I tell you is easily corroborated. Cannot speak today. There's a lot of XJWs out there, because if you ask a Jehovah's Witness what I'm talking about, one, they've never experienced it, so they deny it instead of saying, oh, that happened to you, I'm sorry. Two, they know about it, but they lie about it to your face and say, no, that's not true. Three, that might cause them to research something and find out the truth themselves. So the writer in me wrote a book, and it's a young adult book, and it's called The Truth is a Lie. And again, it's down in the links. It's on an app called Wattpad, which you can read on your phone or your computer or your tablet, and it's free. Okay, it's free right now. So this book is my life, but it's also the lives of other young girls and young men that I met either through Facebook groups or that I knew in real life at the time. And I combined them together. But the main character, most of her is my life growing up. And these experiences that I'm sharing in this book are raw, they're real, and they're authentic. And so I want you to remember that when I read these things to you, or if you read the book and you see those happy Jehovah's Witnesses come to your house or to your corner, that is a veil. And while there are many wonderful people who are in that organization, that doesn't mean that they're not in a cult. It just means that they're blinded to the truth of what they're in. And there is a lot of evil in this cult as well. And I'm going to go into that in my next video. I'm going to talk about something called the 2-witness rule and why this organization is riddled with physical abuse, mental abuse, pedophiles. It's bad. And again, Jehovah's Witnesses will completely deny this if you ask them. And it's true, a lot of them don't know about it. They're blind to it. They're afraid of it. They write it off as, I don't even know. They just ignore it. So the book I wrote is, I'm going to give you a trigger warning that there is sexual abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse, spiritual abuse. And the part I'm going to read right now is about Sara. Sara's my main character, and I lost it. She is 16, and she has found a secret from a girl who moved into their home. Her name is Rachel. Now, Rachel, a lot of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses will relate to Rachel. Rachel is an 18-year-old girl who wants to go to Bethel. She has left her family because her family thinks the Jehovah's Witnesses are a cult. And Sarah's mother said, well, you can come and live with us until you go to Bethel. So Rachel is on track to go to Bethel. And Sara, she reveals the secret to Sara that she was raped by Sara's stepfather. Now, we know that abuse victims don't always go and do the right thing. They don't always go and tell the police. They don't always go and tell someone else. And that's part of the victim mentality. They may be afraid because they were threatened. So this is true for Rachel. She was threatened by the stepfather, whose name is Brad. She's afraid of losing her position and being able to go to Bethel. She can't go back to her family because her family thinks she's in a cult. And so her mindset is her family does not love her because that's what the cult has told her. There's no witnesses to what happened. And without two witnesses, she can't go to the elders and say, this is what happened. If she went to the elders, she would lose Bethel. She would be disciplined and saying that she had done something wrong. And that's why Brad had raped her. It was clothing she was wearing. She led him on. And that's true. This is what they say. And again, they're not going to tell you that if you ask them. They're going to have a canned response. I've heard it all. I've experienced these things. I've met women, many women, who have had these things. I don't want to get too deeply personal here, but there's a lot of this that happened in my home. You know, Rachel is loosely based upon my older sister and some other women that I knew growing up, and men. So, and the experience that I read here with, well, let me back up again. So Rachel confided to Sara that she was raped. And now Sara, who's 16, is holding this information and she doesn't know what to do. She wants to help Rachel because she knows this is wrong. But her first instinct is not to go to the police because the Jehovah's Witnesses believe that's shaming Jehovah's name. So she knows what she needs to do is go to the elders, but she can't because she doesn't have witnesses. So she's trying to find a way around it. And she does find a way to talk to an elder who's like a grandfather to her, but then it backfires. And Rachel is disciplined, and now Sara is brought in to be disciplined. Brad, however, is not disciplined because that's the way it works. So the chapter I'm reading here, Sara we've gone through that. Sara has revealed these truths to the elder, and he has brought her in. So this again is on Wattpad, and this is chapter 13 I'm reading. And I apologize, I am dyslexic and I will stumble over words. And I hope you still enjoy it, and I hope that you go and read it. You don't have to read the whole book. You can pick parts you want to read, or you can just read a couple chapters. But the cool thing about Wattpad is you can leave comments, and it's awesome. So I'm going to not read this whole chapter, but I'm going to skip through some parts. But I'm going to get you started. And there's a part here where Sara is taken into the elders, and all the feelings and things that are going on are what I experienced when I was pulled into the elders at age 16 and asked extremely personal questions, personal sexual questions by these two men. I had nobody in the room with me. It was just me and them. And so just think of that when you're listening to this. Mama sits on the sofa, her eyes closed and her body limp, like she's melted into the cushions. I've been gone all day, morning field service with Cherry like I'd promised, and babysitting. All I want to do now is sit upstairs in the pink room that's not mine and draw in my sketchbook, except I'd promised Jehovah no more drawing, no more art. I'd been done with that. Not wanting to wake Mama, I pad toward the stairs, grabbing a banana from the big bowl of fruit as I pass. Finally, you're home, Mama says, making me jump. Remember, I babysat after field service, I say, snapping the banana open. Oh yes, I forgot. Mama rubs her temples like it hurts to hear my voice. Sucking in her breath between her teeth. She gathers her limbs, pulling to a stand. Her navy blue dress wrinkled and creased. Put your things away and get ready. A cold shiver runs through my spine. Ready for what? We've got a meeting with the elders, she says. My stomach flutters, but not in a good way. Now? Why? Mama stares at me, her eyes blank, and I know I am the one that the elders chose to discipline. This is between you and them. I tried to tell you, but you're too defiant. Mama's voice is cold and flat. She bends and picks up toys scattered across the floor, tossing them into a basket. Something pulls at my chest, taking my breath with it. I did what I thought Jehovah was telling me to do, I say, hiding the shaking in my voice. She exhales through her teeth again and stands with her hands on her hips, like she's being kept from something important. Be thankful that you didn't ruin your stepfather's chances of being an elder, or in Rachel going to Bethel. I'm fast forwarding a little bit. So Mama pulls into the spot at the back of the Kingdom Hall, hidden behind the dumpsters. Here, her faded blue van won't be seen from the street. This time of day, a lone car in the parking lot, along with the elders' cars, would spark a chain of rumors from the sisters. They'd think our family is having trouble. Or worse, someone is being disciplined, and Mama's good standing status will slip farther down. In the Jehovah's Witnesses, as with many cults, there's a hierarchy, and because women are held of little value and little esteem, they mostly serve men. And so Mama having good standing gives her some hierarchy among the women. And they can come to her for advice, and she can give them a spiritual guidance a little bit. Let's see. Well, we're here. What are you waiting for? She says. Nothing, I mumble, unclipping my seatbelt and sliding out. The gravel crunches under my feet as I follow behind her. I keep my head up, positive I've done nothing wrong and this was all a mistake. Surely they will listen to me and make things right. Does it matter that no one saw what Brad did except Rachel? That's a reference to the 2-witness rule. Across the street at Central Park, there's a ting, the sound of an aluminum bat as it hits a ball, followed by the roar of a crowd. I wonder if Gabe is playing in the game. Why had I thought about Gabe, a worldly boy? Why had that popped into my head right now? I push it all the way to the back of my brain, and suddenly I'm alone, empty, as if I was floating above myself looking down. Like a guard waiting for a prisoner, Brother Wilson stands outside the dented steel back door of the Kingdom Hall, his pants held up over his round belly with a pair of suspenders. A sliver of white sock showing at his ankle. Another layer of dread builds inside me, and I can't seem to will it away. Ushering us in, he leans down and whispers to Mama, his droopy eyes never leaving my face. Mama nods and shuffles to a bench along the far wall. Smoothing a skirt, she sits, her hunched shoulders now straight, pressed against the wall, and with a sniff, she tugs her dog-eared book, Draw Closer to Jehovah, out of her purse. I pass her, begging her to come with me. I pass her, begging her with my eyes to come in with me. She opens the book and pulls it close to her nose, her face hidden. She's sending me into the wolves alone. And that actually did happen to me. My mother just sat there and let me go. Guilty until guilty. Not even proven innocent. Brother Wilson motions me to the elders' room. The ominous, mysterious elders' room. Will couples receive permission to court with the intention of marriage? True. The room where single women receive spiritual guidance because they have no husband to guide them? True. And the place where a family that accepts a blood transfusion for a dying child is disfellowshipped? True. What's going to happen to me? I beg Jehovah in silence to come near to me, and still I feel alone. Where has he gone? Why has he left me? A high-pitched hum starts at the back of my head as I stumble into the dark, windowless room. Brother Wilson on my heels. A single fluorescent tube flickers like an ominous warning, casting a dull yellow glow on the paneled walls. Brother Reed arranges 3 chairs around a small wooden table at the center of the room. That's what they do. They make you sit around a table. Good afternoon, Sara. I'm glad you could make it. He pats a chair for me to sit. By the way, if the elders call you in for a meeting, you have no choice. You have to make it or you are shunned. Brother Wilson squeezes into a chair reserved for him, his stomach pressing up against the edge of the table. Brother Reed, please lead us in prayer before we begin, he says, lacing his fingers together like pumped sausages. Brother Reed clears his throat and begins to pray. His voice is gentle, crisp, and clear. His prayer, an endless string of words such as doubt, shortcomings, wrongdoing, shame, disgrace, and rebuke, hit me like sharp points of arrows. It's clear why I am here. I mutter an almost silent amen and raise my head to meet their gazes, to see a mix of scorn and disappointment. Brother Reed flicks the corner of his Bible with his thumb. Sister Sara, normally we would have all the elders here, but as I feel you are like one of my grandchildren, I'm keeping this between us. And you've made some accusations of wrongdoing against your stepfather, Brother Michaels. It wasn't an accusation. I told Mama and Brother Reed what happened with Rachel. I just sought counsel to help Rachel. I paused, bending my head and folding my hands in my lap, the way I'd been taught to show submission to a brother. Shaking his head, Brother Wilson lip shifts in his seat, and leaning forward, he lifts one corner of his mouth into a smile. This is why we have the 2-witness rule, Sara. You can't go around accusing brothers of wrongdoing. That's how rumors are spread and names defiled. I took a look from Brother Wilson's soft, doughy face to the sharp nose of Brother Reed, who shakes his head slowly and says, it's harmful when these stories are started. Now, I will tell you that elders talk down to you. They talk down to women in particular, as if they were kindergarten children and could not understand big words. And this is how they talked to me until they got upset with me, really dumbing it down and really trying to make me feel inferior. And I hope that you're kind of feeling that as I read it. It's not a story. Rachel told me, I say. Shivering with cold, I wrap my arms around my chest. The hum in my head is growing louder, and I wish I could erase this moment or paint over it like a bad drawing. Brother Wilson flips through the tissue pages of his Bible and nods where he finds the passage. Turning it towards me, he slides his Bible across the table. Let us examine what the scripture has to say. I'm sure you're already familiar with the words of Deuteronomy 19:15, but I'd like to hear you read them out loud. The light flickers overhead as I read, keeping my voice steady. No single witness should rise up against a man respecting any error or any sin. In the case of any sin that he may commit, at the mouth of 2 witnesses or at the mouth of 3 witnesses, the matter should stand good. You're baptized in the truth. You know all these things. You know, Sara, that there needs to be 2 witnesses, or in some cases 3. As the scripture says, when a brother commits a sin against another. Brother Reed reaches his fingers out, tapping them on the edge of the table. So when Brad did this awful thing to Rachel, if there were 2 witnesses to it, you would listen? I ask, almost pleading, and not understanding why it's me here in the chair when all I done was try to help Rachel. The 2 exchange glances. The tips of Brother Reed's ears turn red, and a vein pulses on his forehead. Ignoring my question, Brother Reed flips through the Bible and says, bringing false accusations against someone is disgraceful in Jehovah's eyes. What if you'd reported this to the police? You would have brought shame on Jehovah's name. I would never shame Jehovah, I say. The coil in my stomach winds tighter and tighter. Brother Reed runs his fingers around his collar, the edges yellowed with age. We have spoken to everyone concerned. Brother Michaels acknowledged his actions may have been misinterpreted by Rachel. Heard that. How is rape misinterpreted? And Rachel, too, was open to our wisdom and insight. She has come to understand the source of the problem and is working on it. And that's what I referred to before. They told Rachel it was her fault. They read her stories of Dinah in the Bible and other women who were raped because they didn't listen to Jehovah. Anyway, the chair groans as Brother Wilson leans back. Sara, we are imperfect, and this is something one must leave in Jehovah's hands. He gave us the governing body. He gave his governing body insight. So the governing body is, I don't know how many men, 7 old men who are in the New York and Bethel, who apparently receive wisdom and words directly from Jehovah, and they tell it to the rest of Jehovah's Witnesses. How do they get it wrong a lot and they have to correct it? Anyway, that's another topic. They have placed specific laws in place, and it's not up to you or any of us to question. You know this. This is what you agreed to when you became a baptized member. We called you in here to talk to you, to give you a chance to apologize and make things right with Jehovah, Brother Wilson says. The coil in my stomach springs open, and I pull myself to a stand, knocking my chair to the ground behind me. I haven't done anything wrong, and neither has Rachel. I say it loud enough for Mama to hear. The room goes silent except for the hum in my head. Both of them stare at me. Their places blank, as if they were puppets without feelings. Well, I wouldn't have believed if I hadn't seen it for myself. You are defiant, just like your mother says. Why is that, Sara? Brother Reed asks, using his grandfatherly voice. I want to run, not sit here listening to these empty words, but something makes me stay. It's not the familiar fear of displeasing Jehovah and dying Armageddon. It's worse. It's the horror of knowing Brad can continue to hurt others, and Rachel blames herself. And what could I do? I'm powerless. I right my chair and sit back down, my body covered in a cold sweat. Brother Wilson sniffs and pulls out a manila folder filled with loose pages. From the other side of the table, I can clearly see my name, written in neat square letters across the top. Below, a series of columns with dates and numbers. My field service time report. My time being monitored, my time being mentored, and the talks I'd given, and how often I'd participated in the meetings by raising my hand and answering questions. They do keep track of that. Of course, they will lie to you and say they don't, but that's another lie. It appears since your last weekly time report, you have put in a sizable number of field service hours. You're not doing great at participating during the meetings, so you've done only 1 talk in the last 6 months, and you canceled your mentoring. He slides the notebook to Brother Reed. I didn't cancel it. We agreed to delay for a week, I say. You will have to do better than this. You are failing to serve Jehovah fully, and instead of showing remorse, you are showing defiance, Brother Wilson says. What about your art? Are you letting that get in the way of you and Jehovah? Brother Reed asks, like he read my mind. Numb and suddenly mute, I shake my head, slow. Well, you are forcing us to discipline you with reproof. Reproof? I suck in my breath. That's 1 step away from disfellowshipping. I fight the urge to scream. Why? Because you are going against what we, Brother Wilson pauses and clears his throat, what we, under the guidance of the governing body and Jehovah, have commanded us to do, to keep this congregation clean. I'm sure you've already felt Jehovah slipping away from you. He does that when you break the rules. And that's why we have discipline. And since this is your first time being disciplined, Jehovah's giving you a chance to change. And then he'll come back to you when you've made your heart ready. So their God loves you only conditionally, and you have to do a lot of work to earn it. 1 mistake, and he doesn't love you anymore. I'm sure glad that's not my God. The words wash over me, and I feel nothing. Not the coil in my stomach, the pressing of my temples, or not even the numbness. Sara, Brother Reed says, reproof is more than keeping Jehovah's congregation clean. It's a way of drawing you closer to him. Jehovah will forgive you if you ask, and will assign you a course of spiritual discipline designed to give you a glimpse of what it would be like to be away from Jehovah. Brother Wilson pauses. Otherwise, we will have no choice but to disfellowship you. Disfellowship. The words echo in my head. Shunned. My family won't be allowed to talk to me. Nina will turn her back on me like I'm not even there. I will be invisible to everyone. I would have to leave home. Where would I go? I have no other family, no aunts or uncles. I shiver thinking of Rory and others who'd been disfellowshipped. We'd never talk to those people again. They are dead to us. I talk to her, and fear flashes through me. Are you sorry for what you've done, Sara? You do want to live in paradise on earth, don't you? The walls close in around me and my chest tightens, so it's hard to breathe. I want to live in paradise, but I'm not sorry for helping Rachel. What Brad did is wrong. He lied. But I'm trapped in their world of Jehovah's rules. If I don't say I'm sorry, I'm disfellowshipped. I won't have anywhere else to go. Reproof. I can do reproof. I hear myself say the words, but I don't believe them. I was wrong. I hope Jehovah can forgive me where I've fallen short. Please tell me how to make it better. They pass me a yellow sheet of paper and ask me to sign at the bottom. Something inside me feels dirty, unclean, like I've done something wrong, but I haven't. It wasn't me. It was Brad, right? So there's a lot going on there, and a lot of feelings and emotions. And for Jehovah's Witnesses who tell me, oh, my lights went out. Jehovah's Witnesses who tell me that this is not a cult. These are the things that I share with you so that you can understand what I'm talking about. Things you don't see or hear because they're afraid to tell you. And they can't. They're literally, their life is in a very thin line, a very balance, and they could go off. Where are they going to go if they lose all their family and friends? So I really encourage you. One, there's a couple things. If you have a friend or a family member who is a Jehovah's Witness, don't argue with them about it. Be that person of love in their life. Be that person who's strong and that could be someone that they feel comfortable with, that they could go to if they get into a bind. If you are great at theological discussions, wonderful. But very few Jehovah's Witnesses leave because of theological issues. They usually leave because of the failed prophecies they see, or abuse, or they discover something and they wake up. But when they leave, they have nowhere to go. So, and the mental change and is debilitating for many, and they end up going back or they end up committing suicide. I encourage you to watch Leah Remini's series on Scientology. It's very similar. It's strikingly similar. The words are just different. I mean, the different terminology in both cults is just different terminology, but they mean the same thing. Please subscribe, like I said, to my channel, and comment. I love it when you comment. And I will keep doing this content for you, and I'm going to read another chapter in a couple of weeks. But thank you so much for being here and for listening. And I'm sorry this one was a little bit longer than I normally do, because I know your time is valuable. But I appreciate you, and I thank you, and have a wonderful, awesome day.